Welcome back to Gorge for another casted game. On this side of the map, in green, we have Pan-Tukon as the Ayyubids, and on the other side, the north side, in the pink, we have Brother Shoes as the English. Now, Shoes sent me this game because he said it's a particularly fun one. Now, before we start hating Shoes because he's an English main, don't worry, he isn't. And this is actually one of the reasons I really wanted to cast one of his games so I could share this with you, because Shoes is actually doing a challenge that a load of the guys in the Griot Bara Discord started this season, which is Random to Diamond, which is random civilization, no map bans, and basically starting a brand new account to work your way up to Diamond. And Shoes has been really hammering the ladder, working really hard, and he's getting super close to this, and so he's doing really well, and I wanted to share some of this with you. And this is actually something I've been considering doing next season, because this season I was a little bit too chicken. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does, and whether going random and playing all of the civilizations helps him with his battle plans in the different matchups. So if we take a look at Pan-Tukon's scouting path as well, we can do this. So looking at the scouting path here, Shoes has done really well to cut across. So although he's missed one, he's actually covered all of this backside. So actually he's going to still do pretty well. Because Ayyubids are on the berries, you would expect him to go maybe a little bit more aggressively, potentially diagonally straight across, a bit like Shoes has done as well. So he's still getting a couple, but I think Shoes is probably going to clean up there. And if we take a look, we have the House of Wisdom over in the back, quite exposed, so potentially room for a little landmark snipe going on here. But we're just going to be waiting for this wing to come up, and then we can see what he's going for, whether it's the classic camels or something a little bit spicy. If we have a look at Shoe's side, he's not gone for the early farms that you sometimes see people doing because they want to use that wood for something else. But obviously, if you have plans for that wood in Feudal Age, sometimes it's better not to spend it, and then you can get things built more quickly. So in this particular matchup, I think Ayyubids tend to usually go for the camels into fast castle, but it doesn't really work against the English because camels are countered by archers, and English have arguably the best archers in the longbow. And if English goes for a feudal all-in, then you're in real trouble. So if we take a look here, he has actually still gone for the reinforcements wing, so that's interesting. I think if because also the villagers get ranged attack as well, so they actually will do bonus damage against the camels too. So this is potentially a little bit dangerous for Pan-Tukon, unless he's planning on also going for aggression alongside this. Shoes, on the other hand, isn't going for the longbow all-in, he's going for the 2TC king, so we see the guys going on stone here, and I think this is really nice, securing up this stone early, so then you can go on the safe wood at the back, because it's much harder to dive the wood lines on Gorge here, because you always get this big wood at the back, which is always secured by your TC on both sides, so you can get that pretty safely early on, whereas the stone here actually is really far out for Shoes, so I think going for this super early and getting all that stone in before the camel comes over is a pretty good idea. If we take a look over at Pan-Tukon's side, let's see how he's done for sheep. He's got 7, and if we take a look over at Shoe's side, hidden by the beautiful Japanese tree, we can see 1 left there, and if we go to his scouts, which was over on the other side, he's getting a couple more, so actually fairly even considering the swath. But oh no, he's missed this little guy. Bye bye sheep. We'll see you next time. So, A-Job's just about to come through, I think, for both players. The camels should be coming out in about 20 seconds, and the king is also going to be coming up. One thing to remember is that the king also does take time to build once the landmark is complete. So that does mean it's slightly slower than the camel. So when you're reacting to that, you do have to remember that you do have an additional 30 seconds on the king. So I imagine we're going to be seeing king chasing camel and camel chasing king, but the camel should be coming out any second. There we go. And it instantly drops out, and it's coming straight over to do some damage, so we can follow him along the way. So looking at Shoe's eco, he's got just about enough there for the stone for the TC, so we're going super heavy onto the wood so that we can get that up. If we look at the position, usually English go very defensive with it, so I would imagine it's probably going to go here by the berries. That mining camp, I think, is slightly in the wrong position. If it were on the other side, you could probably stick it in the gap here. Maybe he'll delete that mining camp and then chuck it right in the middle there, super safe, because then you can secure that. But If we head over here, there we go. King chasing camel and camel chasing king. There we go. So now this is always an interesting thing because the camel does debuff cavalry, but because it's light ranged, it also takes extra damage from cavalry as well. So that's where it's when you're fighting it, you have to make 2 horsemen usually to beat the 1 camel. But now with this king, he's healing up and he's going to be a real threat, so he's pulling this camel back now, which is really nice work here because the camel is supposed to be used to cause aggro so you can age up, because you can see now that we've got a lot of gold coming in, a tower on the gold, which is usually your signal for fast castle. We've got a blacksmith, so don't see any production, so whether this is just preparation for the castle age, but that would be my thinking when as soon as I see a tower on the gold with Ayyubids, you know they're going for that fast castle. If we check his side, there we go, on the gold and the berries there, so that's a little bit of extra food. And then when you drop your farms down, they're caught in double the radius. If you go for white tower, let's say at the front, all of this space is basically super safe. So there we go, the king diving, and Pan-Tukon doing a really good job here trying to get the scout, because the king's going to heal anyway, but if you can take that scout out, you dramatically reduce their vision. So now the camel's having to go quite defensive, which means Shu has free reign to basically do whatever he likes. He's pretty heavy on gold at the moment, so I imagine he's probably going to be trying to match the castle age with that king hanging around. So if we take a look now, we can see double camels, so we have got production that's gone down somewhere. Oh no, that's the second one, excuse me. My brain's a little bit exhausted this morning, so the camels come out every so often from the House of Wisdom with that wing. So, and we're going up with the industry. Interesting, you don't often see this age ups from the castle from the Ayyubids. If we just watch this little bit of damage from the king going there, being super aggressive. One more hit? No, okay, keeping that king safe, I like it. But unfortunately the camels are going over to Shu's side as well, so he's going to have to make sure he reacts really quickly. And oh, one gone down. Oh no, but look at that damage the camel's taking, and they don't heal, so if he's a little bit too aggressive with these, he's going to lose that real momentum he's got. But talking about this industry wing, you do get a lot of wood, so it means you can instantly drop tons of production, and because the Ayyubids don't have to use villagers to age up, you can still get tons and tons of gold ready for making gulams or camel lancers or any of that kind of thing. So, but usually you do see people going for the growth wing because you get 8 villagers and all of your berries get an extra 100 food. So with those 8 villagers, that's a massive pop to your eco, especially if someone's going 2TC. It does kind of give you that little bit of extra time where they're not going to get that economic advantage over you. But we can see eco-techs coming in for Pan-Tukon now, so he's not saving that in the bank, ready to pump out those units just yet. The king popping in just to idle that economy, and I think this is really nice work here from Shu's. Both of these guys trying to idle the economy as much as possible, not necessarily going for the kill unless they can. So if we check on the top side, we've got a scout who's somehow got a couple of extra sheep, and we've got the camels sitting up here. Not sure whether they're guarding anything or they can see something. They're just chilling, having a good time in the cherry blossoms, hiding away. So I'm sure there must be a plan involved there. And if we take a look at Shu's side, he's definitely working his way up to castle. We've got some production going down with the barracks, which I think is pretty smart considering we know he's already got camels, so chances are that probably some lancers are going to be coming in. Now this is quite an aggressive one. See, this is where the wood line is quite dangerous because you do have to go so heavy. And is he going to escape? No! Oh, poor king. Oh, you served us well, sire. So now this is not so good because that free king is such great value and it does heal, so it can stay in the fight for such a long time. But we've got the barracks coming down and we've also got an archery range, so I imagine we're going to be seeing quite a heavy infantry comp. Whether we see a new king pop out to do some mobile healing, we'll just have to wait and see. But no. No, it can't be. Okay, so we've got the Tower of the Sultan being dropped now just outside the base, just as he hits Castle Age, which is absolute insanity. So this is slowly building up, and it does a huge amount of damage. It does, 600 ram damage, but to do this so early with no other units, it just seems like absolute craziness. But maybe this is what all this wood is for. It's an all-in strategy I've not seen, but I absolutely love it. if we take a look at his base, what he's doing with all that wood, we've got a couple of stables gone down, we've got an archery range, and we're moving out on the berries here. So if Shoes can catch some of these guys, he's going to be in real trouble, because obviously as the English, they get those safe farms. Now, not sure about this white tower placement. Personally, I'd probably have put it in a slightly different place, maybe even just here, and then you've got room for putting all of these farms in safe positions, and your production really could have gone somewhere else, like out down the back here or around this other side, and then you've got like super safe double protected farms here, triple protected farms here, and then you've got all those garrison slots between the 10 here, 7 and 20. You can basically garrison your whole economy, which is why everybody at the moment loves the English. Shoe's also trying to be greedy and go out for these berries, and he's just seen the big guy coming along the way. So yeah, no dervishes in queue for Pantukon, so he's not planning on getting any relics, but these Lancers and Camel Raiders are trying to come in. And let's just see how the Sultan's big guy comes in and knocks on the door of the English base. So I am interested to see how it fares against the White Tower, because look at this damage raining down on these units. And I think this is really nice work here, focusing on the units. That Sultan's Tower is good, but if you can get rid of all the other units, then you're going to be in real trouble. So look at that fire rate from the English. This is just disgusting. And although the villagers, there we go, see, now with all those garrison slots, with 15 in the main one, all of them are just being able to sit there and basically just shoot. So that second TC is going to go down, but Pantukon has taken a huge amount of damage there, and he's trying to repair it up, but it has gone down, unfortunately, and we are going to see some villager kills. But torching down that Sultan's Tower, let's see how long it lasts. But this is, there we go. This is where the White Tower really comes into play, because you can put so many units there, and you can see from the archer, you can also produce from it as well. So this is where you can get springboards or anything else you need to combat it. So now if we switch over to the economy, we can probably see that at the moment Shu's economy isn't doing particularly great, but he's been defending this, and he's lost that TC, but he's already managed to at least maintain the same number of villagers. So I think pretty well defended there, and back on the gold, ready to start pumping. So at the moment, unfortunately, his food eco is down, so he is on these exposed deer at the front. No safe farms as of yet for the English, which I don't know whether I love it or I hate it, but it's interesting to see. And I think it's nice as someone who often faces the English to not just see the huge base full of farms this early where there's nothing you can do. But we can see a load of these Camel Lancers in, so they're here, and really you want to be getting these guys raiding, but we have a load now. So we've got the Raiders and the Lancers, so, and now they're making a Manjanique. Now these guys have a really special ability, so they can swap to the Incendiary ammo, which means they deal area of effect damage, or they can go for the Kinetic, which deals like overall higher damage. So it's really nice that you can do that. And these spears getting caught out of position. There's a couple of spears, but not enough to take on this many Lancers. And the fact that Ayyubids can actually make siege with these Lancers means you don't have to go for infantry. You can just go for pure camels if you're going for that sort of thing. Whereas if we look at the comp that Shoes is going for now, he is got some spears, he's got men-at-arms, he's got crossbows, so I think all of these pretty good choices, because the spears and crossbows do counter these Lancers very, very heavily. But unfortunately, because his infantry's got to watch out for these Manjaniques, because they're going to be able to really pack a punch. So now both players just massing up and trying to build their ecos, and because of going out on the deer here, Shoes is managing to stabilize his food income, and he has got a king as well. So if we try and find, where is he? Where is the king? So he must be running around somewhere. If we can see. Yep, there we go, raiding on those berries that were exposed. Perfect little bit of raiding there. So the king is actually a fantastic raiding unit, because it's going to heal up. And I really like it when I see players do this. So what Pantukon's done there is he's moved away and then rallied straight back. So obviously it's not worked in his favour this time, but a lot of the times if you do it inside TC range, the units will actually run away completely, and then you can go back and just get back on with what you're doing. Always also buys you time to send something over to try and defend against those. But yeah, so now I don't think the king's going to fare particularly well about these double camels, so we're just going to have to see. Oh, and the villagers getting in on the action, but the king is out. So we can see a green mass coming down in the center, and we've also got archers coming in. So we're going to be seeing a real damage, and also we've got double range defense, which is going to mean that when he does dive under the TC and the white tower, it's not going to do as much damage. But our Shoes is housed. Oh no, we need to get some houses down. Pretty sharpish. There we go. And we're seeing some emergency farms in there to really build the eco. Luckily, they are cheaper for the English, so it does make it easier to do this transition. But looking at these military numbers, we're going to have to be careful that we don't get outgunned when the fight does come. I think it's interesting that neither player is really going for relics. We can see that Shoes is grabbing one, so here's one coming in now. But considering both players have been castle for a little while, you would have expected Pantukon to drop a monastery pretty sharpish and get a dervish out to get some, even if you just went for the safe ones at the back because you're already over here anyway. So we can see the mass building at the front of the base, and no, it can't be. Yep, okay, here we go. So I think this is going to be the screenshot, guys. This has to be it. The Sultan's big tower surrounded by the camels, praying that this is going to be the final nail in the English coffin. So here he goes. It's running away, and even more, we've got rams, we've got manjanique, we've got everything but the kitchen sink going in to try and take on the English in this one. And Shoes is getting ready for a fight, lining up his units and building some extra production. So hopefully we can see some in queue here. That's it. So we're going to be hopefully massing up for a really big fight. And with this Sultan's tower coming in, we're just going to have to see how he manages to hold them off. Now the military numbers are looking fairly even, but you do have to remember that you do have the lancers, which are much higher value. So we do have to be really careful there. And so there's that Manjanique going in, and it's not got a massive hit there, so this is pretty good. And skipping that, I think this is a really clever move, skipping for the siege to make sure that your infantry doesn't get taken out, so then you can focus on all the other units. And here we go, a bit garrisoning up to get that fire damage on all of those lancers, and then you can also repair them as well. So I think this is going to work really nicely. Those spears are really shredding through all of that stuff. The spears and men-at-arms cleaning up those archers, cleaning up those camel lancers, and it's just the tower surviving. Is it going to take out the white tower? We're just going to have to see. So there we go, and all the spears are going to burn it down. And if we look at that, the health is dropping, and they are just about out healing it, and the white tower's down, and the Sultan's tower's down, and there was a little cheeky ram hidden in the front. So this is crazy, and a Springle that must have popped out of the white tower just at the last minute. So this is again a huge defend, and I think this is potentially where things are starting to move in the favour of Shu's opponent here, because his base has been basically completely untouched, so his eco should be popping off now, whereas having your white tower taken out, having your second tower TC taken out, that's really going to be putting you on the back foot. So we've got a little monk here that should be going out and grabbing relics. I'm always guilty of this, but Shoes has done an amazing job to get 3. I don't see any being picked up by Pantukon at the moment, so we're just going to have to see. But there we go, being caught out in the middle, and this is the danger of building your siege so close to the enemy base, especially if you're building it in the same place that you did previously, because they know where to get you. So although the military numbers are looking fairly even, this is starting to even out and push back over to Pantukon's side. So now Shoes putting on the pressure and Pantukon defending. So these lancers are going to go up against the spears, and I don't think this is going to fare particularly well for them. One of the lancers going past, whether he's going to escape, but now these archers are going for the spears. So it's pretty even fight. I think maybe having that many spears going in against those archers maybe is not the best idea, but I like the composition here from Pantukon with these heavy archers because he's seen the spears, so I think this is going to work really nicely. So the Springald unfortunately is getting chased down as he's trying to escape, and whether it makes it, I'm not so sure. No. And that's also the problem with your siege being exposed without any defenders, that it can quite easily be taken out, and the damage that you take economically from losing that, when you think that a Springle costs you 500 resources and a lot of that is gold, that can be a real problem. So there's an archer running to say hello. Not sure exactly why. Oh no, poor guy. That must be a rally point is set forward. So if we take a little look, we can see, yeah, all the rally points are set past the sacred site there. So we're going to have to be really careful our units don't start running out into the middle of nowhere. But I do like this. There we go. A couple of monks healing up, and no king. So we're not going for another king added in. That would also do the job of healing as well as damage. But defending against these lancers, while there's more siege being built in the middle. So I think Pantukan has his strategy, and he's going to go with it, and he's going to take down these landmarks. I'd love to see a couple of dervishes come out and just take the sacred sites to really push Shoes out of his base at this point, because that would mean that he can take the fight away from the White Tower, because here English is king without the king, and they, as you've seen, they can take such huge amount of damage. If you just took these sacred sites, then they would have to push out to you, and then that's where you can force them to fight in the open without all those defensive buffs, and without the network of citadels or the network of castles, which increases your attack speed. So that, I think, would be a really good move, because look at this, the White Tower just takes it out, no bother. So if we can also see that the villager kills for Pantukan are really, really high, and doing a nice little bit of raiding on the backside there, getting that up to 17 so far. Probably going to get 1 or 2 more there, so maybe closer to 20. And so you can see, even with that second TC, it's definitely starting to pay off more in Pantukan's favour, because his eco has been so well preserved, because he's been pushing and pushing. But I think sending these lancers in individually to the White Tower is basically just feeding them to to the gods in this case. And we've got a horseman coming in the back, and nice little bit of work here with all of these low health villagers. You really need to keep them in a safe position. So yeah, all of these villagers running around, and that horseman just causing a little bit of mayhem. Some walls coming up here for the English, so getting super defensive now with this White Tower at the front as the big cannon. And it's almost like Shoes heard me. Now he's securing these sacred sites. It's going to force the fight to move away from the same position to where he wants it to be. So maybe we'll see a keep drop down there. We do see some stone, so some keeps on these, or some stone walls that would start definitely forcing the fight in a different position. But we can see the lancers, we've got archers, we've also got a load of gulams now, so the force is starting to look very, very scary here for Pantukan, and Shoes is doing his best to mass up as much as possible. He's got the White Tower, he's got an archery range, 2 archery ranges and 2 barracks, so this, I think, is definitely a good amount of production, and his food is really starting to pop off now with these farms secure in the back. And I really like this position here, because it's past the White Tower. It's going to be very difficult to get in here and do any damage. Maybe a little short wall across here just to stop the lancers running past and trying to get in, but that's definitely going to be helping his eco go a little bit crazy. We can see he's out on this exposed gold, so if Pantukan can scout that, he can do some serious damage to the eco, because that's 12, so that's a quarter of Shoes' economy, and there's no towers, no defensive structures, so this is potentially a very risky play up in the corner. And also Pantukan is doing very similar. He's also getting raided by a knight, which is coming out of the White Tower, of course, and unfortunately this defensive camel is doing a huge amount to debuff the damage, so now this knight is just not going to do anything, and that's a lot of lost resources. So unfortunately not the damage I think that Shoes was hoping for. But if we take a look at the map, he's out on the gold here. Again, lots of low health villagers, so a couple of good raids and that would really do some damage. And there's 4 in this outpost. I'm guessing it must be 4 villagers that are hiding. Having that defensive outpost is pretty good. I imagine it should have been right next to the gold, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. And we can see a unit over here, a knight, trying to get some raids in. So if we just got it on this other side, then we could see some real damage. But it looks like we've got this defended outpost here, because that gives you that network of the citadels, and so Shoes is trying to extend that so that he can take some even better fights. We've got a Springle there to go against the siege, because he knows that there's going to be a Manjanique, and now, because Pantukan isn't pushing his advantage, he's not using these units to do any damage, the numbers are starting to equalise pretty swiftly. So if I were Pantukan, I'd be wanting to break down the walls here, going and raiding up in these top sides. If you could break down these walls and get in here and idle all these farms, then that means no more units, nothing that they can do. So I think this is where you really need to push, because the longer you let them set up like this, the more units English can pump out, and then you're in real trouble. So I think this is potentially getting a dangerous spot, but you know what to do. When your opponent's starting to mass up, they've rebuilt the White Tower 3 times, what do? You build another Sultan's Tower. So it's the Tower of the Sultan, the big guy, the big chunga. So I think it's if anything, I don't get to see this unit enough when I'm watching matches, so I'm happy that I've seen so many in this one. Whether it's the right unit to make, we will never know, but it's fun all the same. So if we go into the cinematic to watch him charging into action, and we can see now how he fares. So unfortunately not guarded by any of the other units, trying to pull those units back out of the network here, and so now it looks like there's going to be a big fight coming, and some rams and siege coming in at the bottom. So here we go, taking a big fight here, and all of those crossbows coming out. The Lancer's trying to come in to do the damage to the Springald, and the Springald's going to be trying to get that Manjanique, but it's quite difficult to target, taking some heavy damage on the front with these spears. So I think it's really going to be whoever can break down that front line more easily, but with the defensive bonuses here from the White Tower, this is doing a huge amount of damage, and those Ghulams running in to fight the spears, but with all these crossbows I think they are going to have real trouble. And pulling back these units now, all of these ones have just been sacrificed, and so the numbers are starting to equalise much more in Shu's favour, and that is it. Pantukum calling it there, as the Sultan's Tower doesn't quite do the job, with Berkshire coming up on the side. So a fantastic hold from the English against a lot of Tower of the Sultans, something you don't often get to see on the ladder. And here we are then, back before GG was called, as the Tower of the Sultan is going into the White Tower once again. So what a crazy match. Now let's just pause it here so we've got time to review, so we can check out the final state of play, as we can also see the blueprint for a keep going up at the front. So let's take a look at the base here then. So we can see that Shu's has gone very defensive here with these walls, and I think this is really nice, and he's got those safe back farms, which I think has worked really well. So securing this all up to prevent any more of those raids, because looking at the damage here, he's taken a lot of damage while he's been defending against that second TC, but he's also managed to do a bit of raiding himself to equalize those villager numbers. So for a long time actually he was either equal or just a bit behind because of that damage, so I think he's did a really good job of keeping that going and producing those units. I think maybe some extra production could have been a good job, because his income's looking pretty strong. He's almost got 1,000 of each, so chucking down some more barracks or archery ranges to get out more of those crossbows and that just much more quickly, because the problem here is about the mass. But unfortunately Pantukan had the units, had the mass, and for a long time actually also had the eco advantage, but was just forcing out these Tower of the Sultans. And as much as I think these units are really cool, they are 1,000 resources, which is a lot, considering if you think that the rams are 200, you can make 5 rams. So if you think in this game there were 3 Sultan's Towers, so Tower of the Sultans, so you could have had 15 rams. So let's say you built 15 rams in the middle and you had all of these units and you just pushed with 15 rams, you could probably demolish the majority of the base. So I think sending out the Tower of the Sultan isn't necessarily the wrong plan, but you either need more or you need units to defend it while it goes to work, because obviously he took down the White Tower but then lost all of the units and then was going back in again. So I think potentially that was the reason that didn't work. And also going for the wood, the eco with the wood, using basically all of that wood just to make one Tower of the Sultan, I just think is potentially not the best use of those resources against someone like the English that is so defensive. If you don't have all those defensive buffs, it probably would have been much more powerful and would work, because also now we can see these farms coming in, but apart from that, they're all coming in, so that transition's actually been much more difficult because all of that wood was spent. So I think potentially that could have been an issue. Also, no relics here for Pantukan, which I think really would have helped boost his gold income and prevented some of these from Shu's. He managed to get 3. Obviously, there's still 2 more on the map, and he does have a few monks. He has 3 monks, actually, so could have been getting this one and also getting the other relic over on this side. So where's the 5th one? So there's this one, And oh, the other one is right under here, so there's no way you're getting that unless somehow all of his units are occupied and he sneaks in. So I think that's pretty good. But apart from that, I think Pantukam did a really good job of massing up, like how quickly he got all of those units out. After each push, he massed up really quickly, but he just didn't push that military advantage. Some of these units should have been raiding, going and disrupting these farms, or coming from a different angle. I don't know, for example, why would you push the White Tower from here when you could actually come and push from this side, and you'd only have the one TC? You could take out the monastery, which reduces the gold income. You could house him by knocking out these houses and going for the production and stuff this side, because really the White Tower is amazing, but it's a keep with super defensive capabilities. So why would you decide to fight under that and under the TC? Because fighting right here is literally the worst place you could possibly be in an English base. So I think if these units had been used more aggressively and they'd circled round and done a bit more damage, a little bit like this guy raiding up here and catching these units off guard, I think that could have potentially been a way of turning this around for the Ayyubid player. But some really interesting play, and I just have to say one more time how much I would love to see more of this unit on the ladder, but given the cost, I don't think we're going to be seeing too many. So let's all say goodbye to the Tower of the Sultan, and I'll see you next time for some more exciting action.